And we're live.
We're live.
Great to be back
Great to be
in
back.
action after we got hit, we got sick, we got knocked out,
Yeah.
both of us. And man, it took us out, huh?
It took us out for a few days. I got sick, and since we're together all the time, you got sick, and so, oh yeah, that flu that's going around, but we're back.
But it goes to show you how important it is to have a good, strong immune system and everything, because when you're out, we can't do podcasts, we can't do marketing, we can't, I mean, we were still working, we weren't fully, bedridden or whatever,
No,
but it hinders a little bit. It
for sure.
stunts.
Now, you know, this is a blessing and a curse, all wrapped up in one.
Yeah.
I did a tremendous amount of work from here because since I had the flu or the cold, I didn't want to meet person to person with people, right? I give them, bacteria, whatever, the cold, and so that's not right. So, but I did a tremendous amount of stuff from here.
Yeah.
Um, so I feel very productive, but there's nothing like person to person because we're people,
Yeah.
and that's what I love, getting out there, talking to people, meeting new people, learning, getting ideas from people. I mean, it's great.
Yeah. Yeah. I think there's nothing like, even though you can have Zoom calls and all these other FaceTime and all this, which is great to connect people that are far. There's nothing like an in-person interaction.
Absolutely.
Um,
Absolutely.
Now you just went to a little excursion.
Correct. We went to see the King Tut exhibition.
How was it?
Oh, it was fantastic. I'm pumped, about all those ancient mysteries and stuff like that.
Is this King Tut we have here?
Yeah, that's no, that's Ramses the second.
Oh, okay.
That's
Okay.
Ramses the second. But we took the grandkids, and I think they have the bug now. They were just mesmerized with all the kinds of artifacts, ancient stuff, all the history, the enigma, the not knowing, uh, and they were super excited about it all. And they have books that we've given them, and they've been looking at pictures and reading a little bit. And so, oh, I've heard about this, and I heard about this, and it's fun because we were in the exhibition, and there was an older couple, and the my grandson, he's 6 years old, and he's talking about Nefertiti and King Tut and Imhotep, and the guy was going, "What is he? Can you run the tour for me?" It was just funny. It was just really funny and great, and I'm pumped to see that they like that stuff, and it opens to reading, to learning, not just in that area, but
Yeah.
to kids. And now, like I say, this is a blessing and a curse. um, whatever happened to reading, we need the kids to read also a little bit, not just be, and it's difficult to do for every parent,
Yeah.
because we're geared towards that now. And like you said the other day, which stuck with me, the marketing, it's done to, right,
Oh,
grab you and keep you, right? To,
yeah. The purpose of every platform, every app, is to consume as much of your time as possible, because that's how they collect data, and data is what they sell. They're in the business of selling data. So the longer you stay on that app, the better for the app. Um, I find it interesting that a 6-year-old, a 4-year-old, your grandkids are so interested in Egypt, ancient Egypt, because I don't know. It doesn't seem that I don't remember as a kid myself. I always liked history, but I don't remember at that age being so interested in. And he asks you a bunch of questions, and he's I saw you guys were taking pictures with the different statues. And what's the name of the? Is it a mask or something?
Horus. Oh, the death mask.
Yeah.
Tutankhamun's death mask. It was made out of gold. I think it weighed 23 pounds. And it wasn't originally seen by Howard Carter. They had to uh, take some of the stuff that was on it over the years. It accumulated some
Dirt,
dirt,
yeah,
dust,
dust.
whatever, and it was underneath. But then when they started cleaning it, and then the cleaning is meticulous. You have to do it with a little brush and a little thing, and it, it's nothing like we're used to doing in the kitchen or whatever. They have to take extreme care not to tear something,
Sure.
a name that could potentially, because this is stuff that is disintegrating after all these years. But then they found it's called the death mask of Tutankhamun, and it was made out of gold, and it weighed 23 pounds, and it was, yeah, and it's there, and you
Yeah.
see it
A
plain as
replica,
day.
right?
Like, it was just
Excuse
incredible.
me. It's a replica. It's like an exact replica.
Right.
That's so cool. Did that go in the sarcophagus?
Yes, it did. And he was in 3 different levels of it. So first they got opened one, and then they opened another one, and it was great. It's there's a lot of mystery to it, and I think that's what draws them
Yeah.
and anybody else, because we really, we talked about the Rosetta Stone and how we're able to read hieroglyphics now because of the Rosetta Stone. But there's still a lot of mystery. There's a lot of, quote unquote, aside from the reading, there's a lot of interpretation, because they're talking about the Duat, they're talking about the Book of the Dead, they're talking about the spirit world, a lot of stuff, and so a lot of the things needs to be interpreted. Even though we read it, we know what they're saying. It's some of the thoughts are a little out there.
Right.
And
Right.
so it
It's-
retains the mystery. It's not like
It's
you
not a
pick up
perfect
book.
translation.
Yeah, you pick up a book on how to open a safe, let's say. Okay, you turn this to the right, this and that, it's got gears, blah, blah, blah. Okay,
Yeah.
now I understand how the safe works, let's move on.
Yeah.
It's not exactly like that, because there's some myths that go into it. They speak in spiritual terms, and then it's, to a certain extent, up to interpretation. That's why it's the magic of it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think with Meditations by Marcus Aurelius, same thing. It had to be translated because I believe he wrote it in Latin, if I recall correctly. But the problem is some of the translation gets skewed.
Of
And I think
course.
that's what you're talking about. When you could know the word, but it doesn't mean it, because words back then in ancient Egypt, what did they mean, right? The meaning of words changes over time.
Potentially a different meaning.
Yeah.
Potentially. And look, people that speak different languages, like we're fluent in Spanish. Sometimes you take a saying from Spanish and you try to translate that to English,
Yeah.
and it doesn't have the same punch.
Right.
And
Something's
vice
missing.
versa. You take a saying that's really good and hot in English, and you try to translate it to Spanish, and it doesn't have the same oomph. It loses it, because the phonetics, the play on words, and so forth and so on.
And
So,
cultural context and
correct.
things like that. What was something from the exhibit that stood out to you? Because you've looked at a lot of it, researched it online and books and different things and movies, but was there something there that maybe popped out more because you saw it in the physical?
Well, the sarcophagus of Tutankhamun was something that was tremendous. Okay, the replica of the death mask was tremendous, but there's a lot of stuff that I realized I don't know. For example, there was this big, huge box. It was like 6 feet tall, and it's made out of gold. Maybe not all complete gold, but definitely covered in gold, like a shading of gold or something. And then it had 2 doors, very large doors. And when I peeked inside, it's got all kinds of hieroglyphics and super interesting stuff. It's the first time I see it. Even with all the stuff that I've read over the years, that box is the first time that I see it. And that was in the tomb of Tutankhamun, which I have read a lot about. And I might have seen it before and forgotten it or something, but that box, and maybe we can put a picture of it. You know, it's
Do we know what it's
huge.
called?
No,
Yeah.
I need to find out.
Now, so
there's another rabbit hole.
so you can walk into it. So
Yes, you
when you
can.
say box, it's over 6 feet tall
Yeah,
and wide.
yeah.
How I mean, you could fit how many people would you say?
It's like an elevator, like a
Oh,
mini,
okay.
like a little mini elevator.
Okay.
Not a huge elevator, but you know, a small one.
Mm-hmm.
You could go in
That's a
there.
good
4 or 5
comparison.
people. 4 or 5 people could go in there.
Huh.
I mean, if you got somebody that's 6'8", he's gonna have to bend over. 6'3", you know, probably bend over. But average sized people like me, we can walk in there. You know, you just go on in and then you stand. I mean, I don't know the name of that box.
Yeah.
Now I'm looking for the name of that box so that I can read stuff on it.
Maybe someone in the comments will help us out.
Yeah, please do. And by the way, thank you for all the comments. We're doing a little bit more mysteries because a lot of our friends and subscribers are all into the mysteries like I am, and I love it. But yeah, that was super interesting. And there was a lot of stuff that I realized, hey, you know what? I know nothing. I know very little.
Yeah.
It's super cool.
And a lot of it's made of gold, it seems.
Yeah, it was a precious metal back then, and so it was made of gold. And one of the interesting things was that Tutankhamun was buried with 2 lances, and one of them is of a
These are the lances.
no, they're knives,
Oh.
and so
Oh, I've heard about the knives.
yeah, and one of them is made of some material that it's not of Earth material. So they're thinking that it was an asteroid and that hit the Earth, and they picked up that. I hope I'm not messing this up too much because I haven't reviewed this in a long time, but it's definitely not of Earth material. They've tested it, and
Some sort of meteor or
yeah,
some.
yeah, but they were masterful craftsmen because in order to pick that material and shape it into a lamp, how did they do that stuff? You know, I would not be able to do that. I don't have the skills today, and I'm sure very few people around today have those type of skills to be able to shape that in the form of a knife, you know, a lance, and not crack it. How did they do it? It's just one mystery after. You know, you have more questions than you have answers.
Yeah.
And that's the magic of it, actually. And I'm pumped. I just came back from the King Tut exhibition, and it was great.
So you recommend it?
I recommend it hands down to anyone. And there's a what do you call it, virtual tour at the end, which blew me away. And I asked the gentleman if I could see it a second time, and he was gracious enough to allow me to see it a second time, because the first time I got so excited that I was looking all around with my mask.
The Oculus or one of those
Yeah.
things.
And what ended up happening is that I wasn't following the lighting, which the lighting precedes the recording, and the recording is telling you about things. I was looking at the ceiling. I was looking around. It's like if you are literally inside the tomb. It's a weird feeling, and I got super. You know, it's great to get excited over these things because I feel that it keeps the kid in me still young. I was sitting on a chair. I knew I was sitting down, but I started looking down, and when you look down, it's like you're on the ceiling of the tomb, and you're looking at all the treasures. And I remember thinking for a second, boy, I'm gonna fall off this chair if I'm not careful. So I sat back on it, still looking down and looking at the walls, and And so I missed the tour of it. And so when the time was over, I got a lot out of it. But then I asked the guy, "You think I could see it again?" And he said, "Yeah." And super nice people there, all of them, hands down. And he said, "Absolutely. Let me restart you." And then I followed the lighting and the recording, and I got what it was all about. But it was just super interesting stuff.
That's
And I
cool.
could hear my grandkids, "Oh my God, look at that! Howie, are you seeing this?" "Yes, yes, I am." And there's other people sitting there,
Yeah.
so you want them to keep it low,
They're
but they were
excited.
super excited, and so
Yeah.
it was fabulous.
That's great.
Yeah, it was a
That's a
great,
good
great
experience.
experience, great vacation. I loved it. Short of going to Egypt, I recommend it to everybody, guys. Go see the King Tut exhibition.
Yeah.
I don't think you're going to regret it. It's money well spent.
The only challenge is it's in Las Vegas, and
Yeah,
you got the
go to the Luxor.
you got gambling right there too.
Oh yeah, well, that goes with the territory.
Yeah.
I love gambling anyway. So, but it was very nice, and came back with renewed energies about it. Not only that, but everything else. There was one gentleman that asked us uh, about a couple of things, and there's a mystery, or there's a thing called the Nubian egg, okay? And the Nubian egg was discovered in the desert of Sudan, in Egypt. And this egg is an ostrich egg. And it was in the tomb of apparently a very wealthy man, okay? And they got this ostrich egg, and they made some drawings on it. The tomb, it's carbon dated to 7,000 years old. Okay, so the tomb makes it 2,500 years older than the pyramids of Giza.
Hmm.
And yet, on this ostrich egg, you see the three pyramids drawn on it. Okay? Now, a lot of people are saying, "Oh, those are not the three pyramids," because it cannot be, because the carbon dating of this tomb is before they built the pyramids. So the pyramids weren't built, so this has got to be something else. Some mountains, other pyramids that are in Sudan, okay? But the problem is that nothing jives, because the pyramids in Sudan were built 2,000 years after the pyramids of Egypt. And this tomb is 7,000 years old at least. And you got these pyramids, and you also have, if you look at the egg, you got a wiggly line to the east of the pyramids, which coincides with the Nile River. The Nile River is east of the pyramids, and it actually wiggles, and it just goes like this throughout the mountain range and the area. The other thing you have to compensate for is that the Nile River is not today in the same location that it was 7,000 years ago. So this is a description of how this particular wealthy man, through his travels or whatever, saw this. And I didn't see anything in the exhibition. Of course, it's King Tut's, but nothing to reflect that. And they asked a question about that, and I knew a little bit. So I told them a little bit about what I knew. And it's tremendous. Yeah. These are mysteries that we don't have an answer for, And it's called the Nubian egg. You guys can look it up.
And it was found in Sudan, you said?
Yeah.
And where is that?
In the desert of Sudan, in Egypt. And now it's in the Nubian Egyptian Museum. And people can go there and take pictures of it. And not only that, without getting too crazy, because, the top of the egg, well, they did a couple things to the egg, because it's an ostrich egg. So they brought some scientists in to measure the decalcification of the egg. Okay? I mean, you can really I mean, there's no end to this. Okay, so apparently the egg had decalcified over the years because it's going to disintegrate because it's organic matter. So that if they don't do something to preserve that egg, eventually that egg is going to fall apart, right? Um, just by being there. So, but anyway, the decalcification of the egg was slightly over 50%. And in order to get that kind of decalcification, if I remember correctly, the article stated that it had to be hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years, if not thousands. So it was already carbon dated through other artifacts that were found in the tomb to being over 7,000 years old. Okay? Supposedly the tombs were built 4,500 years ago, 5,000 years ago. So this thing precedes the pyramids, yet if you look at it, it's got the copy, what definitely looks like the pyramids of Egypt. And then on the top of the egg, and this is what really blows a lot of people's mind, is that it's got 3 circles of water and 2 circles of land.
3 circles of water
and 2 circles of land. Now, where have we seen that before? That's how Plato described the city of Atlantis. And it's on this egg.
Interesting.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's plain as
more
day.
Mysteries.
Plain as day. 7,000 years ago, this wealthy guy passes away. They put all these artifacts into his tomb. It gets opened up. It gets carbon tested, dated. It's just a lot of mysteries, okay? And this is just but one of them. The Nubian egg.
The Nubian egg. Yeah, because it's saying that, if you go based on conventional, nationalgeographic.com, the pyramids of Giza were built from 2550 to 2490 BC.
Right. And this thing is 7,000 years old, making it 2,500 years older. And, you really have to get into it like I'm a nerd when it comes to some of this stuff. But the carbon dating also gave a range. And the range is even longer. I'm giving you the shortest one. It could be up to 900 and, years difference. In other words, it could be a lot older than 7,000. It could be, the difference, it could have been 900 years prior to, it's incredible because the range is even longer on the carbon dating.
Yeah.
So I'm giving you the shortest range of it, which puts it 7,000 years. So it's a lot of mysteries, Mike.
Yeah. Yeah, and who knows if we'll ever know the truth,
I think we will. There's just a lot of stuff that's coming. Egypt and many other countries, but Egypt specifically, Iraq, Afghanistan, India. You stick a shovel in the ground and you go 3 feet down, you might find something. It's crazy. It's just absolutely crazy. Yeah. And some of these discoveries have been made by chance. Like Göbekli Tepe in Turkey was discovered by a farmer that he saw after a big, huge windstorm or whatever, a corner of a rock that he saw sticking out of the ground in his land, in his farm. And he said, "Oh, what is this?" And he started digging a little bit, and there was no end to the dig. It kept going down, down, down. He says, "No, I got to call somebody." And so he called somebody, and now you got the German Institute of Archaeology doing this tremendous research. The main guy, I forget his name, but he recently passed away. He knew right away it was one of the most important discoveries in modern history. It's going to change history as we know it already. And it was found by a farmer.
Can you imagine finding that in your backyard?
Oh, I would. Can you imagine?
A megalithic structure.
Oh my God, Mike! I would get my shovels and be digging day and night.
Crazy.
All good.
Cool. Well, thanks for sharing about the exhibit, and Yeah, for those, I want to check it out now.
Oh yeah, let's go.
So I'll have
I'm
to
ready.
go one of these days. Cool.
We're
Thank
down
you.
for it. Thank you.
All right, we'll wrap it up.